If you're watching this before April 13th, 2025, you're in luck because today we're going to talk about the full moon in Libra that's happening on that day. But this full moon in Libra is illuminating something around our relationships. It's also kind of a closing point on the last few years of the nodes being in Aries and Libra. So if you've been noticing yourself having some illuminations around your relationships, around whether they're relationships with other people, your relationship with yourself, as well as relationships with other areas of your life, and how the scales tend to balance, or if the scales are a little bit off balance, this full moon is going to illuminate where your attention is being pulled. So let's talk about it. And if you're new here, I'm Caitlin. I'm an astrologer, a coach, and a writer. And now I'm making some videos on YouTube as well, just to expand my creative adventures. So I'm so happy to have you here. If you would like to get more updates about astrology, be sure to subscribe. Please like this video. Help my Leo sun feel seen and validated. No, all jokes aside. I am an astrologer, and I'm here to let you know what to expect with this upcoming full moon and how it will affect you personally as well. So here is the chart for the full moon in Libra on April 13th. This is where I am, so it's going to be in the morning of April 13th. It may also be on the 12th, depending on where you are. If you're in North America, it'll be during the night on the 12th. What we can see here is the chart of the full moon when it is exact. So we'll see that it is at 23 degrees of Libra, and it's also opposing the sun. So that's what makes a full moon, is when the moon and the sun are 180 degrees apart. The sun is illuminating the moon, so it looks really big and full in the sky. And this time around, we are in the area of Libra. The moon is in Libra and the sun is in Aries. So if we think about Libra, we are possibly bringing up some illuminations around relationships. Maybe we're thinking more about our relationships, or if you want to look at your specific chart as well, look to where 23 degrees of Libra is in your chart, and you will be able to see which house it's in, and that will tell you which area of life it's in as well. If you need help with this, definitely let me know in the comments below. If you know the house of your Libra, put it in the comments below and I will give you a little bit of insight as well. So Libra is the scales. It's very much about balance. And oftentimes Libra can get into this habit of codependency, of like conflict avoidance as well. So oftentimes when Libra thinks there's balance, when they think the scales are balanced, it's oftentimes very unbalanced, because Libra tends to avoid conflict in the name of peace and harmony. So Libra's highest goal is peace and harmony, but oftentimes we forget that, or we're not aware that true harmony only happens when both sides are equal. So if Libra is withholding conversations, if Libra is withholding expressing their needs, especially with the moon in Libra, the moon in Libra really wants to express their needs, their emotional needs. If we're not expressing our emotional needs in a certain area of life where Libra is in your chart, you may be feeling that this full moon. You may be feeling it already. So for me, a personal story here, I've been preparing to move in a couple months, and I found a bunch of my old journals over the past 5 years, so from 2020 until today. And I spent some time like looking through my journals, reading through how I was handling life around that time in my life. All transparency, it wasn't very well. And I started to think about relationships, because a lot of the stuff I was going through at that time in my life was around my romantic relationship. And I realized how much I was trying to make this relationship work and how much I was neglecting my own needs. But I was also making it really hard for the person that I was with to step up. I wanted that person to step up, but it was impossible for that person to step up. And I just kept the cycle going because I wanted peace and harmony. But what would have actually balanced the scales would have been for me to remove myself from that situation. But I waited a long time. Eventually, I removed myself from the situation, and it was a lot more messy than it needed to be. So thinking about during this full moon where you may be able to balance the scales a little bit. There may be someone or something poking at your wound. So the sun is in Aries, and it's pretty exactly conjunct Chiron, which is the wounded healer. We may be feeling some of these wounds being poked or things coming up to the surface. The sun illuminates things. So the sun's rays are shining Chiron's wound onto us. So any wounds that you have around individuality, independence, being direct, being brave, courageous, any wounds that come around that area of your being may be poked a little bit during this time. So if you are feeling a little bit of fear, if there is a conversation maybe that needs to be had, Libra is an air sign, so we may need to talk about something. You may notice that things are coming up, especially now that Mercury's gone direct. There's some conversations that may need to be had. Venus is retrograde, so Venus will move direct on the day of the full moon. So really thinking about how your needs have evolved, how your needs have changed, how you may be able to communicate that if it's safe, if it's possible. There also is the sense of letting go. There's this stellium in Pisces, so we have Mercury, the North Node, Saturn, and Venus all in Pisces. So there is this sense of like letting go. There's also the sense of holding compassion for ourselves, for other people, and really thinking about how we may communicate this to someone who may need to hear it, or maybe we are on the receiving end of this as well. So this is an opportunity to really speak about what you want, what you need, and allowing the other person to really make that decision whether they can step up and being real about it. There can be this sense of like idealism with all of this Pisces energy, but Saturn's also in the mix too, so there is this seriousness around our relationships, Venus, maybe even finances, maybe around like our love, even self-love if you're not in a relationship. There is this sense of needing to be serious about how we go for what we need, how we spend money, how we, like, where our boundaries lie in relationship to one another, in relationship to our finances, in relationship to our values. Are our finances aligned with our values? Are we spending money in places that maybe we don't need to, or maybe that don't align with our values? I was also having a conversation with someone who was talking about this too. This idea of not spending money in places that treat their workers poorly, or maybe use their money for things that you don't agree with. So really thinking about these things as this full moon in Libra comes up. There's also a yod happening during this full moon, and the yod is including the moon, which is very it's a pretty big deal because the moon moves quite quickly and yods are very, very exact. So we have Uranus in Taurus, we also have Saturn and Venus in Pisces, and then the moon at the apex of the yod in Libra. So what I see this as, the yod is often something that we really need to do. We can't really look away from it. It brings up things that, like, it's almost destined in a sense. And with the North Node in Pisces as well, there is this sense of being rewarded when we do take those brave steps. So there may be something that needs to change, some responsibility that you may need to take in order to fulfill your emotional needs. So we feel that something needs to change, and then Saturn is asking us, like, how can you take responsibility for this? And on top of this, we also have a T-square. So with the moon, the sun in Chiron, and Mars in Cancer, this is forming a T-square, which releases in Capricorns. There may be some discomfort with Mars in Cancer. Mars has been in Cancer for a long time, and it doesn't necessarily like to be in Cancer. Mars wants to push forward, to be instinctual, to like go for it, but when it's in Cancer, it can feel a little bit overwhelmed. It can feel very emotionally drained, maybe feeling exhausted. So there is this sense of like there's tension. There's some tension in the area of how we take action, our emotional needs, and who we are, our independence, our identity, our life force. So there is this tension in this area, and the medicine for this is to look to Capricorn, the opposite of the apex of the T-square. So where do you need to take responsibility? What would that version of you that is 10 years in the future do? What would that, like, it's almost that inner parent energy. So we're almost going deeper into parenting our wound around independence. So there is this sense of like, how can I be that parent to my emotional body as well? How can I encourage that part of me and build that stability and that trust in order to be able to take that next step of the thing that I need to do, or the conversation that I need to have, or, you know, the conversation with myself that I maybe need to have. There is this sense of like getting real, this sense of like being a little bit serious about your future, about where you find yourself today. Think about Mars. It's also very supportive of all of this letting go Pisces energy. It's, when I think of Mars and Cancer, I really think about like taking intuitive action. You probably already know what needs to happen, what you need to do, the steps you need to take, but it's finding that alignment and finding that courage from within to be able to take those steps. So there may be a little bit, it may feel good to take those steps, and knowing that when you do take those steps, you will be rewarded, because we have Saturn, the North Node here. There's this pull into that Pisces area of your chart where when you take that action, like that's the direction that you need to go. You may know the direction you need to go. It may be scary to take those steps, to have those conversations, to let go of those things that provided comfort for a while. But knowing that you can handle it, you can do it. So there really is this highlighting of the Pisces energy, having proper boundaries, having compassion for yourself, and also if there is relationship going on, seeing if there can be forgiveness in the mix or compassion for the other person as well. You may see more clearly where the unbalanced energy is, and you may hold that compassion for the other person and think about like, okay, I can see that maybe this isn't working for us, but it's not necessarily that you're a bad person. It's just this doesn't fit, right? So committing to holding those proper boundaries is really important at this time. I think this full moon, it could be a painful one, it could be an emotional one, but there's going to be a sense of release and relief when you know which action you need to take. And also taking those steps will feel really good. So if you do know what's coming up for you, I'd love to hear about it. Leave it in the comments if you want to chat it out, talk about it, maybe even for a little bit of accountability, putting what that action you need to take is in the comments so that it's out there. I know this one may be a little bit intimate, it may be a little bit painful, so if that doesn't feel comfortable, that's totally okay. I totally understand. This full moon is a little tender, so if you are feeling your emotions, there is a lot of water in the sky, so giving yourself that space as well. And again, noticing where 23 degrees of Libra is in your chart, which house is it in, and this may allow you to dig a little bit deeper. So I appreciate you being here. Let me know if you want to hear more about the full moons as they come up. Is this helpful for you? Let me know, and I will continue showing up here and putting out more videos. So if you want to keep following along, you know what to do. Bye.